I used to believe I had it all: a successful career, a loving husband, a beautiful home, and a charming little boy who completed our picture-perfect life. My name is Emily Johnson, and for years I was a television host, adored by audiences who tuned in every morning to see my smiling face. I thrived in the fast-paced world of broadcasting, where every day brought something new, something exciting. But love has a way of making fools of us all. When I married Michael, I thought I had found my forever. He was charismatic, ambitious, and when he looked at me, I felt like the most important woman in the world. I gave up my career to support his. It made sense at the time. He was an up-and-coming actor, and his schedule was unpredictable. He needed a stable home, someone to take care of the little details, to ensure that when he stepped out into the world, he had nothing to worry about but his next big role. I convinced myself that I was making the right choice, that being a good wife and mother was just as fulfilling as standing in front of a camera. For a while it was, but slowly, almost imperceptibly, things changed. The man who had once showered me with attention grew distant. The long hours on set turned into overnight stays. The tender glances we used to share became fleeting, his mind always elsewhere. I told myself it was just the price of success, that every marriage had its rough patches. I ignored the little signs, the way he would turn his phone away when I walked into the room, the scent of an unfamiliar perfume on his jacket, the late-night calls he dismissed as work-related. And then there was Sarah. She was his cousin, or so he said, a struggling actress who needed a place to stay while she found her footing in the industry. She had a way of making herself indispensable, helping with our son, handling little errands, making herself seem harmless. But I saw the way she looked at him, the way he looked at her. I pushed the doubts aside. I told myself I was imagining things. But deep down, something inside me whispered the truth. I was losing him, and worse, I had no idea how to stop it. Something felt off. For weeks, I had tried to push the thought away, tried to convince myself that I was being paranoid. But paranoia doesn't make your husband smile at another woman the way he used to smile at you. It doesn't make his phone buzz late at night, only for him to turn it over, face down, as if the messages themselves were a secret. I needed proof. One evening, while Michael was in the shower, I picked up his phone from the nightstand. The screen was locked, but I had seen him enter his passcode 100 times. My fingers trembled as I typed in the numbers. The screen unlocked, and there it was, a message from Sarah. "I miss you." My stomach twisted. I scrolled up, my heart pounding in my chest. The texts were cautious, never too explicit, but the meaning was clear. "Can't wait to see you again. Last night was incredible. She won't find out." I nearly dropped the phone. The water in the bathroom shut off. I had seconds to act. My hands shaking, I put the phone back exactly where it had been, turned off the screen, and rushed out of the bedroom. My breath was ragged, my mind spinning. I had suspected, but seeing the proof, it was like being stabbed. I needed more. I wasn't going to confront him yet, not without solid evidence, something he couldn't deny. That weekend, Michael had an overnight shoot. He kissed me goodbye at the door, promising to call when he got a break. I forced a smile. "Be safe." The moment his car disappeared down the street, I sprang into action. I had already hired a private investigator the day before, a man named David Reed. He came highly recommended, known for being discreet and efficient. We met at a quiet cafe across town. "I'll need access to his schedule, places he frequents, any details that might help me track him," David said, sliding a notebook from his briefcase. I gave him everything: hotel receipts I'd found in his jacket, locations he mentioned in passing, even the names of a few of his co-stars who might know something. David nodded, his expression unreadable. "I'll be in touch." That night was the longest of my life. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, the silence of the house pressing in on me. Every time my phone vibrated, my breath caught in my throat. But it was never Michael. The hours crawled by. At 2:17 a.m., my phone finally lit up. A message from David. "Got what you need. Meet me in the morning. I didn't sleep. At dawn, I drove to meet David. He slid a folder across the table. "Photographic proof," he said. My hands trembled as I opened it. There was no denying it now. Michael and Sarah, tangled together in the dim glow of a hotel room window. His hands on her waist, her fingers tangled in his hair. A stolen kiss in the parking lot. Another photo of them slipping into his car. I felt sick. "Do you want to confront him?" David asked. I shook my head. "Not yet." My voice was cold, emotionless. Michael and Sarah thought they were careful, that I was blind, but they had no idea who they were dealing with. They thought they could betray me and get away with it. They were wrong. I closed the folder, but the images were burned into my mind. My hands felt numb, my breathing shallow. I had spent months doubting myself, convincing myself that I was overthinking things. But here it was. Proof. Undeniable. Cold. Brutal. Michael had been lying to me. I clenched my fists under the table, nails digging into my palms. The cafe around me felt distant, the soft chatter of other customers a blur. Across from me, David Reed was watching me carefully. "You okay?" he asked. Was I okay? No. I was furious. I was devastated. I was humiliated, but I wasn't broken. I lifted my chin. "What else can you find on them?" David's brows lifted slightly. "You want more?" "I want everything," I said, my voice steady now. "Where they go, who they meet, what they talk about. I don't want him to have a single secret left." David nodded approvingly. "Smart move. If you play this right, you can take him for everything he's got." That was exactly what I intended to do. Driving home, I gripped the steering wheel tightly as I navigated through the streets of Charlotte. The city felt different now, as if the betrayal had colored everything around me. How many times had Michael come home after meeting her? How many nights had I kissed him, held him, trusted him, while he was thinking about her? Rage bubbled up inside me. But beneath it, there was something sharper, colder, determination. This wasn't just about confronting him. This was about making him pay. By the time I pulled into my driveway, my mind was already working through the details. I had spent years building Michael up, sacrificing my own career to support his. Now, I would destroy him just as thoroughly as he had destroyed me. Step 1. Play the game. I couldn't afford to act impulsively. If I confronted him too soon, he'd have time to cover his tracks, manipulate the situation, maybe even turn things against me. No, I needed to be smarter. So when Michael came home that evening, I smiled. "Hey, honey," I said, kissing his cheek. "How was your shoot?" His expression was unreadable for a moment, as if he was testing me, waiting for some sign that I knew. But I had spent years perfecting my role as the devoted wife. "Exhausting," he sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Long hours." "I bet." I forced a concerned frown. "You've been working so hard. Let me make you a drink." He smiled, the tension easing from his shoulders. "That would be nice." As I walked to the kitchen, my hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the sheer effort it took to keep my rage in check. Michael had no idea what was coming for him. The moment I decided to destroy Michael, a strange calmness settled over me. It was as if my emotions had burned themselves out, leaving nothing but cold calculation. I had wasted enough time crying. Now I was going to act. But to take him down, I needed to be smart, and in North Carolina, the law was on my side. The law of betrayal. North Carolina is one of the few states in the U.S. where a wronged spouse can sue the other woman, or man, for alienation of affection. It's an old law, one that most states have abandoned. But here, it still holds power. And even better, adultery can impact asset division in a divorce. If I played this right, I could not only destroy Michael's career, but also take everything he had worked for. I had the photos, the messages, the hotel records. It was enough to ruin him in the court of public opinion. But I needed something even stronger. Witnesses. I wasn't just going to leave him. I was going to make sure he left with nothing. Setting the stage. I started with my closest allies, the few friends I still trusted. Over coffee with Lisa, my old colleague from the network, I let a few details slip, just enough to plant the seeds of suspicion. You know, Michael's been so busy lately, I sighed, stirring my cappuccino. Sometimes I wonder if he's really on set or somewhere else. Lisa's eyes narrowed. You think he's cheating? I let out a small, bitter laugh. I hope not, but you know how the industry is. People talk. And talk they did. Within days, whispers of Michael's affair had spread through his professional circles. Directors, producers, fellow actors, people who mattered in his world, were suddenly looking at him with suspicion. Hollywood thrived on image, and Michael's was starting to crack. I wasn't done yet. The party that changed everything. I decided to push him over the edge. A grand event, the perfect place for a public exposure. Michael loved these gatherings, surrounded by colleagues, rubbing elbows with powerful people, basking in their admiration. He had no idea that this party would be his undoing. I made sure Sarah was invited. Then I reached out to David Reed, my private investigator, and gave him one final task: to follow them that night, to catch them red-handed. Everything was in place. The evening of the party, I dressed in my finest gown, my makeup flawless, my smile radiant. I played my part perfectly, the loving wife, blissfully unaware. Michael was in high spirits, greeting guests, shaking hands, flashing his signature charming grin. Sarah lingered in the background, pretending to be just another attendee, but I caught the way they exchanged glances, the subtle touches when they thought no one was looking. I had given David instructions to trail them, and he did not disappoint. An hour into the party, my phone buzzed. A message. David. They just slipped into the upstairs lounge. Want me to record? Me. Absolutely. The rush of adrenaline in my veins made my hands steady, my expression calm. I turned to Lisa and the others, giving them an apologetic smile. Excuse me for a moment, I said. I just need to check on something. I walked toward the staircase, my heels clicking against the marble floor. My heart pounded, but not with fear, with anticipation. Caught in the act. I pushed open the lounge door without hesitation. Michael and Sarah sprang apart like guilty teenagers. Her lipstick was smudged, his tie loosened. The air was thick with the scent of expensive perfume and betrayal. For a brief second, no one spoke. Then, Michael found his voice. Emily, this isn't what it looks like. I almost laughed. What a cliché. Really? I tilted my head. Because it looks like you're screwing your cousin in the middle of a party. Sarah flushed deep red, stepping back. I should go. I blocked the door. You should stay. Michael's jaw tightened. Emily, don't do this here. Oh, but I think here is the perfect place, I said, pulling out my phone. Since I now have proof that you've been lying to me for months. I hit play on the recording David had just sent me. The room filled with the unmistakable sounds of whispered flirtations, hushed giggles, and finally, a moan. Sarah gasped. Michael went pale. I turned the volume up. From the hallway, voices began to murmur. People were gathering, listening, watching. Michael's entire world was unraveling in real time, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. The final blow. Michael grabbed my arm. Emily, please, let's talk about this privately. I yanked free. You had your chance. Now, let's talk about what happens next. I let my voice carry, making sure everyone heard. We're in North Carolina, sweetheart. Do you know what that means? Michael swallowed hard. It means that not only do I get to divorce you, but I also get to sue her. I turned to Sarah, who had gone completely still. Did you know that? In this state, a spouse can sue the homewrecker for alienation of affection. Sarah looked at Michael in horror. You told me it wouldn't matter. Oh, this was priceless. I took a step closer to Michael, my voice soft but sharp as a blade. You cheated in the wrong state, and now you're going to pay for it. The whispers turned into outright conversations. Phones were out, people were recording. This was exactly what I had planned. Michael ran a hand through his hair, panic creeping into his expression. He knew he had lost. I smiled sweetly. I'll see you in court. Then, with my head held high, I walked out of the room, leaving him and Sarah to drown in the ruins of their affair. The moment I stepped out of that room, I knew I had won. The murmurs behind me turned into gasps, then into full-blown conversations. People were talking, whispers turned into wildfire, and within minutes, Michael Johnson, the beloved actor, the charming leading man, was no longer the untouchable star. He was a scandal. But I wasn't done. I had spent months preparing for this moment. Every piece of evidence I had gathered wasn't just for my satisfaction, it was for his destruction. By the time I got home that night, my lawyer, Daniel Wright, was already working on the divorce papers. He had been waiting for my signal, and I had just given it in spectacular fashion. "You did exactly what you needed to," Daniel said over the phone. "Tomorrow morning we file everything. And since we're in North Carolina, you're about to walk away with everything." I smirked. That's exactly what I planned. Michael's career thrived on his image. He wasn't just a good actor, he was Hollywood's golden boy, the faithful husband, the devoted father, the man every woman wanted but could never have. Now, that image was in shambles. By morning, the headlines were everywhere. Michael Johnson caught in explosive cheating scandal. Hollywood star's secret affair exposed at industry event. Who is Sarah, the woman behind the fall of Michael Johnson? Photographs from last night spread like a virus. There was Sarah, looking shell-shocked. There was Michael, face frozen in panic. There was me, walking out of the room, head held high. I wasn't the betrayed wife anymore. I was the woman who had destroyed her cheating husband with nothing but the truth. He called me that afternoon. I let the phone ring. Then he called again. And again. By the fifth time, I picked up. "Emily." His voice was hoarse, desperate. "Please, we need to talk." "Oh, now you want to talk?" I said, voice cold as ice. "Not when you were sneaking around with her? Not when you were lying to my face?" "It was a mistake," I laughed. Actually laughed. "A mistake?" I repeated. "You didn't just trip and fall into her bed, Michael." He sighed. "The press is all over this. My agent, my career, Emily, this is ruining me." I leaned back, savoring the moment. "You should have thought of that before unzipping your pants." He exhaled sharply. "Emily, you don't have to do this. Let's settle this quietly. No lawyers, no lawsuits, just us." I smirked. "You mean settle it before I take everything you own?" Silence. I had him. Cornered. "I'm filing tomorrow," I said. "And Sarah? I'm suing her for alienation of affection." Michael cursed under his breath. He knew exactly what that meant. In North Carolina, adultery doesn't just affect divorce settlements. It lets the betrayed spouse sue the affair partner for monetary damages. And with all the proof I had? Sarah was finished. It only took 2 days for Sarah to crack. She showed up at my doorstep, her once flawless makeup smudged, her eyes red from crying. "Emily, please," she begged, wringing her hands. "I didn't mean for this to happen." I crossed my arms. "You didn't mean to sleep with my husband?" Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Michael told me you two were done, that your marriage was just for show. I thought we had something real." I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then I remembered the texts, the secret meetings, the way she had smirked at him when she thought I wasn't looking. "You destroyed my family," I said, my voice deadly calm. "And now I'm going to destroy you." She sank to her knees, sobbing. "Please don't sue me. I'll do anything." I tilted my head. "Anything?" She nodded frantically. I smiled. Then start talking. Sarah gave me everything. She handed over emails, messages, financial records, things even I hadn't uncovered yet. Turns out Michael had been using our money to fund her lifestyle. Expensive gifts, luxury vacations, secret bank accounts. Michael wasn't just a cheater. He was a liar, a thief, and I had all the proof I needed. That same night, I walked into my lawyer's office and handed him everything. "Make sure he loses it all," I said. Daniel grinned. "With this? Oh, he's done." By the end of the week, the divorce was official. I got full custody of our son. I got our house. I got half of his assets. And Sarah? She had to pay me damages for alienation of affection. Michael's career plummeted. No one wanted to work with an actor whose reputation was now scandalous poison. And me? I thrived. I rose from the ashes he tried to leave me in. I wasn't just the woman who got cheated on. I was the woman who fought back and won. The morning after everything was finalized, I woke up to the sound of birds chirping outside my window. For the first time in years, I felt light. No more secrets lurking in the corners of my home. No more late-night lies. No more waiting by the phone, hoping for a message that would never come. The weight I had carried for so long had lifted, and in its place was something I hadn't felt in a very, very long time. Peace. I rolled onto my side, stretching as the golden sunlight streamed through the curtains. My bed felt bigger now, emptier, but not in a sad way, in an open way, a way that whispered of new beginnings. I had survived the worst of it, and now it was time to start over. The first thing I did that morning was make breakfast for my son. "Pancakes?" I asked, smiling as I ruffled his messy blonde hair. He nodded eagerly, his sleepy eyes lighting up. "With extra syrup?" I chuckled. "Always." As I flipped the pancakes, I let myself take in this moment, the smell of butter sizzling on the pan, the warmth of my son's laughter as he played with his toys at the table. This was what mattered. Not Michael, not the scandal, not the past. This, right here. I sat down across from him, watching as he stuffed his mouth full of syrupy goodness, completely oblivious to how much our world had changed. For him, things weren't broken. They were just different. And maybe different was okay. Later that day, I met Lisa for coffee. She had been my rock through all of this, the one who reminded me that I wasn't alone, that I was stronger than I ever believed. "So," she said, stirring her latte, "now that you're officially a free woman, what's next?" I exhaled, watching the steam swirl from my cup. "I don't know." And for once, that answer didn't scare me. Lisa grinned. "Well, I heard a rumor." I raised an eyebrow. "Oh?" She leaned in conspiratorially. "The network is looking for a new host for their morning show, and guess whose name has been floating around?" I blinked. "Mine?" She nodded. "You were the face of television once, Emily. You could be again." The thought sent a small thrill through me. For years I had told myself that I had chosen family over my career, that I was happy watching from the sidelines, but deep down I had missed it. The rush, the energy, the purpose. Maybe it was time to step back into the spotlight. Maybe it was time to reclaim me. That evening, as I tucked my son into bed, he looked up at me with sleepy eyes. "Mommy? Are you happy?" The question caught me off guard. I thought about everything that had happened, the heartbreak, the betrayal, the war I had just fought. And yet, standing here in the quiet of my son's room, his small hand wrapped around mine, I realized something. I was. I smiled, pressing a kiss to his forehead. "Yes, sweetheart, I really am." As I turned off the light and closed the door behind me, I took a deep breath. Tomorrow was a new day, a new beginning, and for the first time in a long time, I was ready for it. It's strange how life can change so drastically in just a few months. There was a time when I thought my world would fall apart without Michael, that I would be nothing without my marriage, my role as his wife. But standing here now, in my own space, with my own dreams once again coming into focus, I realized something profound. I had lost him, yes, but in doing so, I had found myself. My return to television was smoother than I expected. The moment I stepped onto the set of the morning show, I felt alive again. The cameras, the energy, the rush of speaking to thousands of people, it was like a piece of me had been waiting all along to come back. Lisa had been right. This was where I belonged. As I adjusted my mic before going live, I caught my reflection in the monitor. My eyes no longer looked tired, no longer held the dull ache of betrayal. They were bright, determined, and for the first time in years, I looked like me again. One evening, as I sipped on a glass of wine, a message popped up on my phone. Daniel Wright. Dinner this Friday? I smirked. The lawyer who helped me win my divorce was now asking me on a date. Life really did have a sense of humor. I wasn't in a rush for anything serious, but there was something exciting about the idea of meeting someone who saw me for who I was. Not just as someone's wife, not just as someone's ex. Maybe I deserved to be seen like that again. Maybe I deserved to be happy. The weeks turned into months, and with each passing day, I grew stronger. My son and I built a new rhythm, a new life. The ghost of my past lingered, but it no longer haunted me. It simply existed, a reminder of where I had been and how far I had come. And then, one day, I received an email. A woman I had never met before. Subject: Thank you. Dear Emily, I don't know if you'll ever read this, but I watched your interview today. I'm in a situation like yours, trapped, afraid, unsure of how to walk away. But hearing your story gave me hope. I just wanted you to know that because of you, I'm finally finding the courage to leave. I stared at the message, a lump forming in my throat. This was why I spoke out. This was why I shared my pain. Because for every woman like me, there were hundreds more still stuck, still scared, still believing they had no way out. But they did. I typed back a simple reply. You are stronger than you think, and when you finally walk away, you'll realize that too. Wishing you all the strength in the world. Love, Emily. I hit send. Then I leaned back in my chair, closing my eyes for a moment. I had walked through fire, and I had come out reborn. Everyone has a story. Some are messy, some are painful, but all of them matter. So now I ask you, have you ever been through something that changed you forever? Have you ever had to rebuild yourself from the ground up? I'd love to hear your story. Or, if you just want to share your thoughts, your feelings, your reflections, comment below. Because sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is share.